once a gallant guardian against the Inferno, he leaped from the fiery front lines into the furnace of fiscal fortitude. This is the man who traded in his fire truck for financial forecasts and his axe for analytics. Behold the pyromaniac turned portfolio pioneer, bringing the heat to every deal and the spark to every strategy and the soggy wet towels to the wolf's den. It's the sizzling sultan of startups, the mastermind with the Midas touch. It's Jerry, the golden god, COVIDy singer.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy to find out that I'm only the second tallest person on the panel. And no, those towels were gross, dude. I had to bring my own paper towels into the bathroom because that bathroom was nasty.
Wow, dude. Still offended. Still offended. Hasn't gone away yet. Up next, he's not just a debater, he's a diagonal dominator, the linear luminary, the polymath of parallelism, dominating debates from dusk till dawn as a state champ with a dexterity that's downright dazzling. As the prodigy of propositions, he leaves opponents more perplexed than a porcupine in a pillow factory. And as a left-handed individual, he's always got a chip on his shoulder. He's the linear luminary of the logarithmic labyrinth that is parallel, where he pioneers as the head of growth, propelling the platform to unprecedented peaks with the precision and persistence of a pendulum in perpetual motion. Welcome to the panels, the Prince of Parallel. We got Fitch.
Damn, man, that was a tongue twister and a half. Good lord. Yeah, that was like way more alliteration than normal. Also, despite the evident disgustingness of the Wolves Den house, it sounds like it was a great time. Sounds like every frat party I've ever been to, so I'm sad I missed it, but I heard that it was fun.
Thanks, man. See, that's why Fitch is my best friend and Jerry is dead to me. Up next, meet the man as the eighth knight at the round table of Stardust, who saw not just a cluster of celestial dreams, but a universe of untapped potential in the sprawling cosmos of crypto. With the heart of a hacker and the soul of a strategist, he's the solutions engineer turned business development behemoth, a figure who didn't merely ascend the ranks, but transformed the terrain itself, pivoting from the precision of permanence of a blockchain transaction in 2021. Man, I can't do that one ever. That's like the third time I've messed up on that part. This is the architect of infrastructure, the sultan of solutions, representing Stardust. It's Andy.
Thank you, Sam. This is a great ego boost every week. Thanks for having me. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate you, man. Always happy to boost that ego. Just let me know whenever you need to pump your mental bags, and I got you. And introducing the pulsating pioneer of our game show, hailing from the high rise of hustle, the titan of trade, the mogul of money, the leviathan of liquid assets and esports teams. Once ruling over the realms of revenue with giants like Alibaba, the sultan of spades at Poker Stars, and the commander of clicks at Team Liquid, he's the visionary who valued victory over vainglory. But welcome to the panel from my angry Yakuza girlfriend. Everybody's favorite merch, by the way. People keep asking me for those shirts. It's the Titan of Taboo. It's the founder who cannot be bought. It's Senjin, all the way from New York City.
From New York City. Hey, guys, I got to bounce at 5 so I can make sure I don't miss that yacht party with the Selena and all the other degens. But I managed to kick in 2 karaoke sessions and no COVID for me. So, Jerry, I don't know where you were headed out last night during those long evenings, but I enjoyed the Wolves Den. It was always clean for me. Jenny was very kind to give us clean towels.
Oh, yeah, shout out to that girl. She was awesome, dude. I don't know who that was on the Shrapnel team, but she was fucking great, Dub.
Yeah, she was a friggin' gem, unlike you, Jerry. In the grand chessboard of Web3, he's the grandmaster moving pieces in a dance of destiny that leaves onlookers in awe and adversaries in acknowledgement of his unmatched acumen. In his hand, controllers become conduits and keyboards clack out the codes of new creations and screens shimmer with the sheen victories savored in the silence of his sanctum. Let the drums roll and the pixels part in reverence for the breaker of blockchains, the cracker of codes, the confidant of kings. It's Vidar.
Hello. Back one more time. Maybe the last time, Sam. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's get down to it. I don't have anything to say.
Don't you play with my heart like that, Vidar? I like having you on the show too much. And of course, from 360s on the slopes to 360 no scopes, meet the supreme head of community and partnerships at Shrapnel, a commander of camaraderie in the chaotic cosmos of Web3 gaming. Having braved over 300 digital domains, his appetite for adventure is unmatched. A true glutton for the grind and the glory that comes with pioneering the pixelated and the powdered. He steered the sporting goods arm of a $14 billion company, and now he's riding or dying along with us in Web3 gaming, introducing the Sultan of Shred, the sharpshooter of Shrapnel, the undisputed king of controllers. It's Dub.
Ride or die, baby. I'm honestly a little concerned. I'm getting bad omens today. I was literally just eating lunch. I'm wearing my inevitable hat, eating the most delicious sandwich, and I got freaking carpet bombed by a flock of seagulls. So I'm down bad at the moment, but hopefully the inevitable hat will inevitably get clean again.
Did that really happen, or is that a
freaking-
reference to the '80s band?
Let's go, Jerry.
He just got a haircut. That's what he's telling you.
Also, Dub, that's good luck, man. Getting flipped on by a bird is like actually good luck.
All
He's
right,
coming to
there
rock
we
you
go.
like a hurricane next.
I hope they have a lottery in Washington because I'm going to go do it.
Best of luck, my friend. And ladies and gentlemen, gear up for a glacial giant, the snowstorm supreme, the commander of cold fronts, the blizzard boss himself. He's the polar prince, turning the chilling challenge of game development into a winter wonderland of winds. From the frostbitten fields of electronic arts and now head of gaming at Avalanche, he's the orchestrator of our digital dreams, turning icy expanses into the arena of exhilaration. With a keyboard as his shield and a mouse as his mace, let's give a frosty welcome to the man who put the cool in controller, the apex of Avalanche, the custodian of coolness. We got Ed Chang back.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I had a thought here that Andy and I are kind of like legacy admittance into Gamified University because our parents sponsor this show, but it's good to be here.
Truly the alumni.
Nepotism.
If you guys are Gamified's parents, then we are better off than many others in the space. And when conversations convolute or dialogues derail, he's the beacon that banishes the darkness, the maestro who makes meaning materialize from the mire. It's the lexicon luminary, the literary leviathan, the pint-sized powerhouse of prose and poetry, weighing in at 2.4 pounds. It's the little lizard legend, Lambs.
GM, everyone. I also have no COVID, so don't let Fresco fuzz Wolves Den and what it was. It was a magical place, sweat and all.
Also had it before, so you were inoculated.
Bro, Jerry is so dead to me.
Quit the
I'm also
fuzz.
inviting up Hantao. Hantao, it's been a minute since he was on the space. I think he'd be a great addition to the panel. Love to see you, man. And ardent admirers and audacious gamers, blockchain believers, and digital daydreamers, let's assemble for the arrival of another amazing episode of Gamified. Let's acclaim and adore Avalanche, the awe-inspiring, authoritative, absolute anchor of our astronomical adventure, the official blockchain of Gamified, which never gets old. Avalanche, in its astounding ascent, audaciously alters and amplifies the arcane intricacies of the ledger into an articulate, accessible atlas of astounding possibilities. It's a monumental marvel of innovation and a relentless roaring river of daring dynamic developments. And of course, with Avalanche, you can lock and load, ladies and gentlemen, and aim your sights as we zero in on another explosive endorser, Shrapnel, the official game of Gamified, of course, built on a subnet in Avalanche. March into a minefield and prepare for an artillery assault of adrenaline in the explosive arena of Web3 warfare with this first-person shooter fiesta. Navigate your way to shrapnel.com and list your profile and launch a barrage of comments, likes, and retweets on today's show for a chance to win $50 extraction packs. So gear up, gather your wits and weapons, and get ready to grenade your way to glory. And of course, last but not least, gathering around the glittering guide of gaming greatness. Welcome to the spectacular, the sensational Stardust, the official infrastructure of Gamified. Are you dreaming of diving into the dynamic domain of Web3 games, desiring to dazzle and dominate the digital? Well, Stardust is your star-studded steed, steering your software to the summit of success. Stardust empowers every eager developer to the cream of the crop in technology, transforming to the top titles like Midnight Society, and of course, Shrapnel into the titans of the terrain. With Stardust, prepare to propel your project to the pinnacle of play and profitability. And I also got to say, if you didn't see it, I've got a ton of merch left over from GDC, and it is all top tier stuff. I'm so excited about all the things that the sponsors brought by for us, but I want to give it away to you guys because it is taking up way too much space in my house. So if you haven't gotten anything from the event, even if you were at the event, you didn't get enough, or if you're somewhere around the world and you wanted to get involved, we have some awesome like Play Ember hoodies that have custom wolf hoodies on Play MB, their mascot, which I think are totally awesome. Great Helica merch. We got some Stardust, or I don't know if we have Stardust stuff. We have a little bit of AVAC stuff, a couple of Shrapnel things, like some of the skate decks that are iconic. So many awesome things. So make sure you guys give us a retweet. I'll be giving that out sometime throughout this show. And then there's going to be a lot of opportunities to win those, not just today, but on Simplified, on Gamified, in tweets. So you'll see from me and the Wolves DAO over the coming weeks and months because there's so much of it. So, make sure you're interacting for that. And we're jumping in. Bullish or bullshit Discord launches questing. Shout out to the Core Loop, one of my favorite news sources, for posting this one up this morning. Discord announced new questing platforms. This is potentially a killer to many Web3 products, including Games GG, Carve, maybe Moku, etc. The first Discord quest involves streaming yourself for 15 minutes into a Discord channel while playing the finals, a first-person shooter in Web 2, for proof of play. Players are rewarded with the quote-unquote skill issue cosmetic set. My question for the panel, of course, is could this be a death knell to some of these Web3 questing platforms? Because, man, there is a lot of them. And if so, if this can be seamlessly integrated into Discord, which clearly it is, that's where many Web3 communities already live. So bullish or bullshit on Discord launching quests. I'm going to send it over to Mr. Ed Chang first.
I think I think Web3 questing platforms will be fine. I got a story for you. Before I took this job, I actually interviewed at Discord. And I was talking to them about BD role, and we went through this interview process. And at the end, it was just kind of random questions. And they were like, what do you like to do for fun? And I started talking about Web3 and how I love NFTs, and I was getting into gaming. And I saw their eyes like roll back to the back of their head. And they were just like, I cannot believe this fucking guy. And I don't know if you guys saw, but there were rumors early on about Discord, including like MetaMask or wallet integration. And because employees revolted, they kind of scrapped that. So, you know, if I had to guess, I think Discord's probably far from anything deep Web3. If they do it, it's really a revenue game. You probably saw this article in the Wall Street Journal recently. I don't have the tweet on me, but they're including this because it's advertising revenue. Probably like similar to like Prime Gaming, except they're receiving advertising revenue there. I think it'll be a long time before anything deep Web3 happens. To be honest with you, that's my take.
Great stuff out of Ed Chang. That's awesome that you interviewed with them. Sorry to hear that they're not more excited about Web3. I'll send it over to Dub from Shrapnel next.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously very bullish on this Discord integration just because it is seamless. I literally got home and my homies were literally like 80% done with the quest, just streaming. We play the finals all the time. So they literally, the dudes who like never screen shared before and all that kind of stuff, they were all doing it. It all worked super well from my point of view. Where I'll call bullshit though is that Discord and is not going to be like a Web3 questing competitor in my point of view, because what Web3 questing, like the holy grail of it, is the decentralized player profile and allowing organizations like ourselves at Shrapnel being able to identify those players autonomously, you know, and send them rewards and offers on chain and all this kind of stuff. And I do not see a large organization like Discord, which is still not a profitable business at the end of the day, being able to innovate and create and do all of that. And that's where what these Web3 questing platforms like Moku have such a strong advantage out the gate in the current setup.
Are the rewards for the finals, or is it for your Discord profile though?
Yeah, you get its actual player in-game skins that are pretty dope too.
That's awesome. I'm going to send it over to Hantao next, who obviously operates Moku, a questing platform. Really, it's a user acquisition platform. I don't want to misquote it, but Hantao, would love to get your perspective on Discord launching quests.
Yeah, we actually fired everybody today. They're all gone. Web3 is over. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that people have already framed it nicely up here. Discord is looking at it as another revenue driver, as another facet for them to offer additional value through the platform. Because I don't know, like, how many people remember, but Discord had games. They had other things that they were trying to sell in their shop, and then I don't think they really got that much traction on a lot of these things. So I'm hoping that people actually take this more serious than the other ones they've launched.
Appreciate you jumping in. Peyton also joining us from the audience. Peyton, I haven't gotten to do it in too long. What's up, man?
No, Jerry, I'm disappointed. But also, I will say that the quest, this is the second one that they're doing. May 4th was the first time that they did it, which was like doing the screen share thing for Star Wars. If anybody remembers that one, I still have the skin for Fortnite on streaming it. And I think it was streaming it to two friends for like around the same type of quest. And I remember, because I was at Champions at the time, I literally was like, get me in touch with Discord on how we could do this for Web3. Talked to them, and they said like, hey, we actually are like really kind of like open to Web3 internally, at least leadership was. but like we are not going to be taking like pretty much the risk on that. Whenever it happened, similar to like what Ed Chang was talking about when they were interviewing, was that the people within Discord, but also just their customer base, hated whenever they tried to pivot, or at least kind of hinted that they were going to. On that aspect of things. And so I do believe that Web3 is safe because I think the bots and everything like that, you look at like AlphaBot, you look at Moku, those are the ones that are going to be the benefit of what Discord has made and are going to be taking a lot of the upside of the advertisement and user acquisition from it. So I just want to say that I do have to go because Tony's going to kill me because me and Dub are now on this panel. But I love you, Tony. Love you,
Yeah,
Dub.
get out of here. Go back to work.
Appreciate the curator of canines coming up and giving us some wisdom. That was great, man. I also want to mention that I would love to hear from people in the audience on this one. How likely are you to do a Discord quest? More likely or less likely than maybe using something like Carve, like Moku, etc. Curious for the people's thoughts on that. I'm going to go to Jerry, then we're going to Fitch.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting attempt at Discord, or for Discord to try to actually do something that's going to make them money. But Discord has historically never done anything well other than be a place where you and your friends can have a play. It's like a better Ventrilo or TeamSpeak, right? So I think like what is this really? And it's glorified ads, right? And that's a good thing because it's crazy that Discord has this platform with 600 million people on it and they don't have a way to run ads. But at the end of the day, I think the Web3 questing platforms are totally safe because by the time Discord gets this to where it's something where you can kind of like take whatever game and they can roll out ads, similar to the way like you see ads on TikTok or whatever. It's going to be forever. And I think Peyton really actually nailed it on the head. Like the beauty in Discord is the people that build better bots on top of Discord to do what you need them to do. So I think this is ultimately going to be kind of a nothing burger. I think Discord has no idea how to take their product and make it profitable, and I don't think this is going to put any sort of dent into any questing platform, Web 2 or Web 3.
ICO Beast in the comments says Discord quests are way better than Galaxy and a bunch of other stuff. Would way rather have it on one platform than having to log in and connect to a million different websites just to earn points for stuff. That's definitely a problem that we're experiencing right now before we get to the point where somebody actually like dominates and is the number one questing platform so you don't have to bounce around all the time. Fitch, I'm going to you next, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on the distribution, potential here. I think a lot of people have pointed out that Discord has been sort of ineffective at executing on a lot of the things that they've wanted to. And I will say the culture is like similar to your average subreddit at Discord, I imagine. So not necessarily super open-minded, despite professing to be maybe. New ideas are scary type of a thing. So I will say the existing. I've been like of mixed feelings about Web3 questing platforms. I would say I'm more warm to them now than I was in the past. Like Dub's point about the social graph and that sort of like proof of behavior, I used to think was kind of, not really that relevant. And then it seems to be more and more relevant, as time goes on, right? Like you want to verify the legitimacy of the users that are coming in because the rewards, and this is another strength for the Web3 questing platforms, the rewards are more tangible here. Like you could actually get something that's worth, real money versus in Discord. I imagine that you probably would not in 90+% of cases be able to do that. Like they're not transactable in a form that you're going to be able to, pull it out to USD or have it in cryptocurrency or anything of that nature. So, the social graph element that's possible on chain plus the tangible value element. And we've even seen like if people read the borderline incomprehensible paper that Vitalik put out recently, talking about sort of the importance of social graphs in a like a post AI world. It's a really valid point. You think about it, what's preventing somebody from using like AI to spin up, or using just general botting technology to spin up, infinity users to farm these things on Discord, right? The protections against that versus the protections of something on chain with like a social proof element, right? That it feels like there's actually like legitimate technical benefits to a Web3 questing and just Web3 questing in general platform. So, and then that plus the tangibility of the rewards, I think, gives Web3 questing platforms a moat that makes them significantly differentiated from the types of behaviors that we should expect to see with Discord.
Well said. Great stuff out of Fitch. McKillen in the comments, one of my absolute favorites, says, I just messaged my friends that we should do this only because it's for a fun game that we already like, the finals in this case, but I don't really use too many Web3 questing platforms. I find it hard to keep up with them using all the different external sites. And then he also follows up with, merch that I missed, hoodies that say Wolves DAO, anything with shrapnel on it, Web3 Gaming Sucks merch, whatever was in the box on the chair, more shrapnel Expodagos, skate decks, and also didn't know the posters were up for grabs. So my man is trying to get that merch. I'm going to send it over to Dub, then we're going to Sinjin.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add after hearing Peyton drop the knowledge there is that, like for me, even myself, I don't really do a lot of Web3 questing platforms these days, even though I am still playing the games. I think it's just a ease of like use and like how easy it is to complete these things, claim the stuff, and I don't want to click through a bunch of things. And like the fact that it's in Discord and goes super quickly, automatically making these things happen is what's beautiful about it. And also a side note that the first Web3 game that we're going to see using this is actually going to be Limit Break and Gabe Layden, just because I know that guy's willing to spend for it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. AK from Forgotten Playland also says, I would rather dive into another quest. And then Maria from Fableborn says, you know you want more quests. Sinjin, tagging you in.
Yeah, I think I'm very bullish on it actually for both Discord and Web3 in the sense that, I think Discord, even though, maybe they haven't executed very well in the past, the fact that it's fully integrated, it will introduce a lot of gamers to that in terms of like, questing platform that covers all games. And so they'll be more apt when they see Web3 questing platforms to maybe have a more open mind about it, but also this does raise the bar for the existing Web3 guys that now they're going to have to look at the metrics of what Discord does. If it does very badly, then okay, whatever, but that could work both ways. And I think with all the questing platforms, I do foresee in a few more months, there will be a massive war to see who really comes on top, just because there are so many coming to market at the moment. So bullish on both, but the competition is going to be very rough moving forward.
Really succinct and well said there, Sinjin. I couldn't agree more. We're going to move on, though, to big deal, little deal, no deal, crypto gaming funds. This is a topic that I find particularly interesting because frequently we see announcements that are like, these guys raised 100 million, 200 million, whatever, for a Web3 gaming fund. And I think it's really easy to get excited about numbers, but not many people actually know what the hell this means and how this money might actually be distributed. And I'm hoping some of the people on this panel can shed some light. So we've seen several announced funds recently. Helica, who I'm an ambassador for, shout out to Helica, $50 million gaming accelerator. That's awesome. Immutable has the $100 million inevitable games fund. I have had so many people DM me and be like, yo, bro, you getting a cut of this? They're using your name or your word. It's fine. Big shout out to Immutable for spreading the good word. Arbitrum, $400 million, and Animoca are still deploying capital from their $800 million metaverse fund that was raised in 2022. But previously it was a $2 billion fund. So I'm not sure what they ended up doing with that other $1.2 billion. And then listening to the All In podcast, just one more shred of context here. They were talking about Saudi Arabia having a $40 billion fund to put into technology, and they were asking how they would do it. And they instantly, one of the guys, Chamath, said, anytime you have a fund, you instantly cut it in half and take 50% of it and just set it aside for any time you have a winner and you want to double down on those winners. That's where like most of the ROI is. So when I look at these funds, I go, well, you could do so much with $400 million helping new games start up, etc. But then realistically, maybe it really is only $200 million in liquid capital that be deployed into new projects. Some interesting things to keep in mind like that. Big deal, little deal, no deal, though. All these gaming funds that we see popping up. I'm going to send it over to the co-host Lems first.
I will say big deal because of the fact we saw funding dry up so much in the bear. It shows that people are still having interest. We're still, deploying capital for games. Some of these aren't huge funds either, but they're still they're still going to contribute to the whole ecosystem. We'll probably see a downturn again when the bear comes back, but it's bullish to me that we're still getting people deploying money. They believe in Web3 gaming as a whole. it's going to still take some time. Like Animoca are still deploying from their fund in 2022, but that was a pretty sizable fund. So yeah, I think big deal because it still shows that people are still interested in investing after we had that dry spell in 2022 and 3.
Yeah, we take those. Jerry, tagging you in now.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal for the reasons that Lems said. You know, it's always good to know that like there is capital being deployed out there, and there's teams that can extend runway, and there's now games can actually build to completion and all that stuff. What I would rather see these teams do is build out ways to actually just support their games, right? Like I still don't think that any of these chains are actually doing a great job of that, and that's just across the board, right? I think there's teams who are like having, and we talked about this on Simplified, another great show that Sam does on Monday evenings. But I still think that like those teams are missing on like they're just gonna use this money to say like, hey, come build on us, and then like you do everything though. You build the game, you publish, you self-publish, do all the shit, right? And like that's not really gonna help these teams. I think what we saw in this last cycle is that teams are kind of incapable of doing one of those, like half of what they need to be able to do, right? So I'd rather see that money get taken and be applied to, just build out your own team to help, these guys. The other thing I hope that we see is like for projects like Helica, hopefully that's like an offset of cost, right? Because Helica is a really cool product, but it's kind of expensive, right? When you consider like all the costs that go into building a game, your engine, your servers, your MMP or your mobile measurement provider, like things like that, your agency that you're going to pick up. Adding a cost to things is another cost for something like Helica is so low on the list for most teams, unless you have like an ungodly amount of funding, right? So hopefully, the companies like Helica are able to take this fund and say like, hey, you know what? We can offset costs for you guys. We can offset 70% of the cost or whatever, right? So that they can show, use case for their product. So, I think it's a big deal. I hope it can be a bigger deal by people taking these funds and not just like throwing them at games to say, hey, come build over here. Like do that, but also, also build shit to make this industry be sustainable.
Yeah, great points. Also want to give a shout out to Jin Kieran in the comments. He's still continuing on the Discord conversation, which you love to see. He makes some really good points if you guys want to keep chiming in on that. Ed Chang, tagging you in.
Yeah, look, I think it's a little to a mid deal, right? The reason for that is by now we've seen which chains have been heavily investing into the space, right? I think everybody is pretty bullish on Web3 gaming. It feels like there's a new L2 or L1 that wants to get into gaming, announced every other week. There's some huge token launches. So we know who's out in the space and looking to acquire content and bring games aboard, right? So I think a lot of times these announcements of these funds feel like, hey, this is another marketing beat that we can use, right? I remember not that long ago, Solana announced a $100 million fund with like Lightspeed Venture Partners, and haven't heard too much about it, right? It was a up to $100 million fund, right? And a lot of times these chains are going to make these announcements, and if you look at the wording, it's like they're going to spend up to that amount, and they've allotted that amount, but it's not usually not a traditional formal fund. Some of these might be, obviously Arbitrum has the DAO to consider. So I think it's a little deal in the sense that like we're in a bull market. A lot of chains have tokens that they can give, with kind of all-time highs. A lot of folks have raised war chests, but I think it's really about how you actually go to market with that, right? So I think Jerry was talking about this, and it's something that we think about a lot too. It's like beyond the capital, what can you offer to make these devs' lives easier, right? And I give like the parallel a lot. It's like we're kind of the blockchain. To give us as like the Stripe or the AWS of Web3, but we're also expected to do so much more, like user acquisition, invest, and all that kind of stuff. And similar to how A16Z kind of made their name by providing all these value-add services for their startups beyond capital. That's what a lot of these chains are doing, including us, including competitors of ours. So it's net good, I think, for the ecosystem, because it just means that games will get more funding and more resources. But the announcements in themselves, I think, are a relatively little deal.
Well said. They don't have their hands up, but Vidar and Sinjin, if you guys have anything to chime in here, Vidar, I'll tag you in first if you're still with us.
I have nothing to say. Sinjin?
Yeah, thanks, but you must be tired. You're out of there in Asia. This is reverse roles for once. I think like we tend to forget that games are a hit game industry, right? It's all about the hits, right? And so a lot of investment into infrastructure and stuff like that, it gets quite repetitive. You see with the questing platforms, we're going to get to a point where we're going to have a consolidation, or people are going to fade out with the chains again. Yeah. I really appreciate what Avalanche is doing and what other chains are doing and trying to support, but it's a big ask to be that kind of publisher. But I think what's even more difficult in Web3 as a publisher, it's not just about user acquisition. It's about like actually creating new marketing channels specifically for Web3, just because of the nature of the education, right? And then if you're kind of investing for acquisition without like a kind of maybe educational channel or something, and you're doing it ad hoc, then the cost per user to acquire them is extremely high. And the reality is a lot of people who are working right now in the industry haven't been in the industry where there were no distribution channels, right? They've been here where mobile's been established, where there's the Play Store or the Apple Store or Steam or Epic. But if you go further back before then, you look at mass marketing or what companies had to do. So Gabe got a lot of shit for doing the Super Bowl ad, right? But the reality is that Gabe's been around a long time. I mean, he's not a crazy guy. He's quite brilliant. Him doing the Super Bowl ad is kind of testing like what are the upper limits if you don't have these kind of distribution channels. Where do we kind of go here to really acquire at scale, right? But again, like if you're a mobile game and your cost per acquisition is, let's say, like $500, right? And you're only expected to actually make like $10, then it doesn't make any sense. So I would challenge these funds to look at a little bit more, even deeper into what the infrastructure is. I mean, we look at questing or user acquisition, we say that's the infrastructure, data, that's the infrastructure, but really look at creating new marketing channels for acquisition completely, right? And I think that's where the funds will be best used, because that is what is really going to propel a game that's good or even very good, but yet gets lost in the shuffle. Because at the end of the day, when the games do get better or Web3 gets more accepted, who are we going to run into? We're going to run into Web2 games. And if you're at GDC and you're looking at the indie games that were there, fucking phenomenal, right? For them, being fun is not an option, right? That's all they need to be. That's all they want to be. They're driven by so much passion, right? And so, yes, there are all these benefits with Web3 tradability and interoperability, and like data that's very centric to the user. But how do we really get that out there? And I think it's really creating these new marketing channels, which people really need to start looking at seriously.
Thanks, Big Dog. All right, we're going to jump into quick fire. Obviously, we have a couple of people at NFT NYC, including Knock, who's not with us today. And then we also have Sinjin live. And we have Fitch today because Koji is also there, a bunch of people. My question for you guys, which of these events are actually worth going to, right? We just came off of GDC. A lot of the people that are not professional in the games industry might not be ready to jump right into another conference. But if we are, which one is actually worthwhile? We have Bitcoin Hong Kong coming up, I believe, at the end of this month. Dubai 2049, that a lot of people have been talking about in 2 weeks. And then, of course, NFT NYC coming up right now. Sinjin with the hand up first.
I think all the token events are very strong just because there's a humongous amount of people that go, and they're very crypto focused, obviously, from DeFi to exchanges to funds to market makers. And, the challenge in Web3 obviously is, as in Web3 gaming is, at different stages, you do need to interact with the entire like crypto ecosystem, whether it's market makers or DeFi pools or so on and so forth, not just tokenomics and launching your token. So I think there is, probably your best bang for the buck in terms of meeting people. But for games that are already established, obviously, it's all about partnerships. And as much as I love and adore many of you online, I know a lot of other people are just scared shitless of me because they think I'm an old asshole or something. But getting to meet people, in real life is creating that old school trust, in the sense that, if there is another stage of due diligence, well, you've already met the person online. They've been in real life, they've been doxxed. It's just a lot easier to have some shared memories, not just in what you've spoken online or exchanged, but, being at the event. So I would say, once you get serious about business development, any event that you go to where your partners are going to be is an event you need to be at.
All right, no more hands are up, so we're gonna move on. No need to beat a dead horse. Appreciate you jumping in, Sinjin. Dump, date, or marry? We got nodes, tokens, and NFTs. Curious on your guys' thoughts of what you might want to invest in. There's a lot of KOL rounds going around right now. There's a ton of nodes being slung around left and right, and then of course NFTs are always available on the open market. Tons of mints, etc. We saw Off the Grid have an insanely successful node sale. Aether, Gaiman, etc. Token season is obviously back, and everyone loved NFTs a few months ago, but lately they haven't been getting much attention. My question for the panel: dump, date, and marry nodes, tokens, and NFTs. If anyone isn't familiar with the game mode, maybe you would go, I'm going to dump NFTs, I'm going to date tokens, and I want to marry those sweet, sweet nodes. I'm sending it to my co-host Lems first.
All right, well, I'm going to go with dating tokens because it is token season. They have their time to shine. But then, once the market kind of goes a bit south, it's like tokens down bad and everyone hates tokens again. So I'm only going to date them. I will marry NFTs because I like collecting stuff. You get more emotional attachment to them. You have your nice, pretty JPEG to go with the token. So I'm down to marry those. And I'm happy to just dump nodes because I feel like I'm just so sick of node season that's been going on right now. And it feels like everyone's just trying to sell a node and then you have to operate the node and people don't even know how to work them or anything. And I feel like we're going to see a whole lot more of them until they're done to death. So yeah, kill the nodes for me until someone can change my mind otherwise.
All right, Andy from Stardust, I'm sending it to you next, bro. Dump, date, marry nodes, NFTs, and what was the last one? I forget. Tokens.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of wrestle with this one. I feel like tokens is who I'd marry and date NFTs and then dump nodes. Just I feel like tokens are like, potentially an entirely new like just sustainable potentially like revenue pathway for games and like this hyper Web3 ethos world where a studio could potentially raise funds and like spot sell it and have it be accounted for. NFTs are just assets, and I think those are gonna stick around too. I guess mistress of NFTs and tokens. It needs to be a little bit more than just date. And then dump nodes. Yeah, I think we all are going to say the same. I'm excited to see who wants to do something with nodes.
I'm going to send it to Jerry, who might be able to bring us some controversy.
Yeah, I am gonna marry tokens because I disagree with the way Lems framed it. I think tokens are not just hot. I mean, they're everything that's in crypto, and they always come back, right? They put up with your shit. They've seen you at your worst, when you were just a shitty intern somewhere, and now you have all this money. Tokens definitely gonna marry those. And you're kind of a dumbass. Like at some point, like everybody will be in profit. Like
Yeah, Lems.
every no, Lems, you're not a dumbass. I'll give you some love in a second. Everybody who you should be in profit on Bitcoin you've bought at this point, right? So tokens are great for that. I'm gonna date NFTs because I don't know that the cycle really comes back yet, and I'm a little bit on the fence. They're sexy, they're attractive, but are they good for you long term? Are they going to hold you down? So far, we're all down bad on our NFTs, and I'm dumping nodes, and every time there's a node sale, Lems is actually the person I message, and I go like, "Hey, we buying this or not?" And then we both kind of walk away being like, "I don't really get it." Like I don't like. Why do I need this? I feel like nodes they were hot for a second. I think like the next couple of node sales that go down are actually probably not going to do well, because we're all starting to ask the same question. Like the first team that did it, we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, definitely want these nodes, and then you kind of go like, wait, what did I get? And then another one happens. You're like, well, all right, I'll get the next one too. And now I feel like everybody's kind of going like, wait, what are these doing for us? And like they're just glorified NFTs in a way that like the way I think a lot of teams are framing them is like, yeah, they're NFTs, kind of, and I don't know. Just nodes are, I'm over it. Give me the fucking tokens, dude. Give me more KOL rounds.
Hey, NFTs are tokens with JPEGs attached to them that you can still look at and enjoy later. We all have a bag of tokens that never came back from the last bull run, so they don't always come back, Jared.
All right, you lemsed your way out of that one.
The co-host with the most strikes again. Vidar tagging you in.
You're all wrong. I'm gonna date tokens, I'm gonna date NFTs, and I'm gonna date the fucking nodes. I'm gonna date every single one of them. Okay, the tokens, they're not anything to look at. All right, they're not a good looker, but they definitely have mental issues. You know, up and down constantly. They're bipolar. They're a little crazy. So you date them for a little while, and then you fucking dump them, and you move on to the next one. You dump that one, you move on. Okay, they're not marriage material. The NFTs, they're also not marriage material. They're nice to look at, but there's no substance 99% of the time. So you're going to get really bored with the NFT. Maybe you'll go back and look at it once in a while. You know, you'll hang out at the park, you take it to a movie, she'll come and watch Netflix at your house. But that's about it, okay? You got to move on with that shit. Dump that one too. Make your profit there. The nodes, that's like in the middle. We don't even know what the fuck they do. It's like someone let's go to the park. Why? There's nothing to fucking do at the park. What are you going to do? Feed the fucking birds? You dump that one, you get bored of it after like a couple of months, 6 months, all right, whatever. You forget it even exists after a while. Maybe they text you every couple of months. Oh, hi, I had a dream about you or some shit. And you just forget about it because in the bear, your node is going to get you like 4 cents. So who gives a fuck? Date, make your money, move on.
Vidar coming with the
Absolute
pass.
legend.
What a legend, dude. AE says, marry NFTs. I believe we will get back to NFTs eventually because most tokens are derived from someone who holds the NFT. Date tokens, just like dating tokens are a trend now, but could lose value whenever they become diluted. And dumping nodes, not really a fan of how they work. I'm going to dub from Shrapnel into Senjen.
Dude, this is so freaking hard, and Vidar is so damn right on this, and Jerry is so freaking wrong as usual. Like, the nodes are like marrying a coin that you met on Tinder, like right out the gate. That's the best way for me to describe it. You're stuck with them. You're gonna keep getting those coins. You know, they're gonna just keep shooting them out, and so yeah, that's why you like naturally you want to date a coin to marry into a node, but like that's just not how that shit works in the crypto world. And like at the same time, if you're just doing that, you're just in it for the money and not for the fun of all this. So like ignoring the NFTs and dumping those is not the move from my point of view. It's like buying art and never looking at the damn art. It breaks my heart.
This is why half of marriages end in divorce. People like Dub.
Sinjin, over to you.
You know, I know the panel here is relatively quite young, and so your standards are, I think, in this modern time, quite low. But if you were to kind of frame it in a little bit more of a looking for a life partner and so on and so forth, I would dump tokens just because they're that crazy nympho lady who will always come back to you anyways, and they're just unavoidable, and they're so plentiful that you can have them in and out of your life, and even if you dump them, they'll still stalk you back. NFTs, you know, if we're talking and we're equating NFTs to the same thing in terms of speculation, yeah, they're trash. But some NFTs, you know, you're willing to date them if they have good value, if you really feel something that in terms that these NFTs could end up, instead of being a speculative value, be more of an ROI value in the future. I say, well, you know, that's the entire point we're here at Gutless Wanks, you know, to make something happen here. And nodes, you know, traditionally nodes are something very special because it's all about commitment, right? I'm not saying that in this case, you know, you can't treat nodes as tokens in terms of like looking at everyone, aping at everyone. It's about a conviction, right? At the end of the day, what's going to underpin all the infrastructure is going to be these chains, and the one that you pick that you think is the winner, you know, you're not going to get more value than, and also commitment from than holding nodes after you set it up. Lems, I'll be happy to help you set up whatever you need, brother. We got to get your commitment levels up there.
I'm going to Vidar in just a second, but a bunch of great comments. Phil says Vidar is a god. Mark says, shit, Vidar found some energy. McChillin says Vidar's amazing. Great, love the take. Jackson says, date them all. It's always a good story 20 years later. Maria says, instead of dump, date, or marry, could we be short-term friends? You know, sure, why not? Vidar, over to you, then Ed Chang.
Sinjin reminded me of something, and he's right about something, but I have to give him a caveat, and that is You can marry your NFTs, but they have to be waifu NFTs because 2D never betrays you. So you can always marry your waifu. She'll always be in your wallet. It doesn't matter if she has utility. That's fine. It's okay. But only the waifu ones. Those are the only ones with intrinsic value.
Can I just say? Can I just say that I've gotten stupider listening to this conversation entirely? all the specific arguments of what we're talking about is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
My apologies for that. Ed, tagging you in.
Yeah, I think I agree with what a lot of people say. I think what I will add on the nodes piece is that yes, this is the meta right now, and there is potential that this turns into. Remember the last cycle's land meta when every single game just sold bunches of lands and nobody ever had utility or had spent a lot of money on them and got burned. There is potential for that. However, there's also potential that some pretty cool models can be figured out, right? I think we talked about this in different gamified. I think a lot of people think of nodes and validators as traditional blockchain sense. You're actually validating the network and transactions, and you get a cut of the revenues for that. A lot of blockchains are going to be able to enable things like that. For example, on subnets, you can auction off the right to be a validator. You can call those nodes. There's some really cool metagame things you can do. I also think that nodes do allow for kind of a cross section of a different type of speculator to come in, right? Because right now, if you're a speculator, you don't want to play the game, you're probably not going to touch the NFTs. You're going to buy a bunch of the tokens. Depending on how it moves, you're going to dump it, you're going to long it, you're going to short it. Nodes are also allowing you to effectively speculate on the success, but also have like almost like shared success, right? Because the idea is the node probably gives you a cut of future revenue. So you need to at least do some research, be bullish on it. I know some of these games will require you to like effectively, there's a staking period for these nodes to earn rewards. There's an unstaking period. So like, I think there's going to be less volatility in a good way for people who are holding token or bullish on this game. I think there's a lot of cool things that can be unlocked that we're just scratching the surface of. But I also agree that we need these games to function as good actors because at this point, hundreds of millions of dollars have been used to purchase nodes, and please give this some good utility, or else someone's going to pull up this audio transcript, and I'm going to look like a fool.
Great stuff, Ed. All right, we're moving on. Change my mind. All roads lead to transmedia. What I want to ask, I'm actually going to pivot a little bit from the way that I have it written down. I think that there is a question to be asked here of would you rather have a game that is completely focused on the game that they are building or one of these projects that is focused off the bat on all kinds of transmedia stuff? We see often, I think, people adding in a bunch of things so that ideally they can raise more money. Oh, we're a comic book. We're also 3 games. And then we also have a Netflix series. And then we also have and it gets a little bit overwhelming. The vision is there, but we all know that it's going to take 5 or 10 years to execute. And they have to execute at a high level. And the game has to be successful first. So people even care about the transmedia. My question to simplify is would you rather invest in somebody that is just building a game and hopefully a really good game, or would you rather invest in somebody that is extremely excited about the 5 different things of transmedia that they have planned for down the road? Ed Chang, I'll tag you in first.
I would be more interested in investing in someone that is focusing on one thing. If that's an anime, then be the anime. If that's cartoon or figurines or a game, focus on one thing. 99% of projects out there do not raise nearly enough money to even build one thing, right? And so please focus on that. I think a lot of people tend to see what League of Legends has done, right? And the Netflix show is Arcane, right? And all this whole merchandising and KDA and stuff like that. But League of Legends started out as League of Legends, right? And sure, they've had many rehearsals at this to do what Valorant did, which was really awesome with the cinematics and stuff like that. But let's be honest, you're not Riot Games. You don't have the resources behind you. Just focus is the name of the game here.
Well said, Ed. Yeah, so frequently I think people look at Riot as the example and they forget that they built that for 7 years before they did anything except for League of Legends. Jerry, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I feel like Ed is my new knock right now, man. He's just everything he's saying. I couldn't agree more with. And I think people look at the Naughty Dogs and The Last of Us and Super Mario kind of popped as a movie this year, and things are getting better. You're not any of those people, right? And you don't have fucking billions of dollars to explore those avenues, right? So, we've talked a lot here about the cost of like what true AAA, takes, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars. And I only know one team who's raised that much, and that's Limit Break. So I think just wanting to do so many things, like boil the ocean at a high level, like I don't really know that we trust more than like 15 to 20 teams to just do the gameplay right. So I think that you just got to focus on that. You got to focus on like what your vertical is. I do get really interested, and credit to Shrapnel for this. They made these decisions way before Dub was on the team, so he shouldn't get any credit. But the Shrapnel team, did a really cool job of building. Sorry, Dub, building out the world through different means of storytelling, and I think that's really interesting. And Web3 teams do have the capacity to do stuff like that on a smaller scale, but just put a couple of resources on it, turn that into something that's like that pays for itself and can not really be a revenue generator, but can justify the cost of, one or two people, and build out your world in different ways, keep people satiated between, the now and 4 years it's going to take you to build out your double A or triple A title.
Yeah, great stuff, Jerry. I'm going to go to Sinjin, then to my co-host, Lems. All right, I'm going to go to Lems, then I'm going to go to Sinjin.
Oh, sorry, bro. I like fat thumbed it. Sorry, Lems. Hey, just really quickly, I think me, I'm most against like all this bullshit narrative and stuff like this, and I agree. Obviously, you have to focus, but I would also say that the narrative of this transmedia IP and the usage of, I think, even if it's not something that you're going to promise to execute right now, you need to create a brand and a position with that idea that that can happen in the future, right? And so I think creating just the game and focusing on the game, and without an idea that, could we expand this later on? Because ultimately, I think the strongest positioning for what Web3 has, more than anything else, is the fact that we can get to that kind of established brand position faster, right? Because of the community and so on and so forth. And that's what really kind of will establish us, I think, in the long run. That will be the kind of 10x. In terms of actual execution, of course, I mean, making a game is unbelievably difficult, and putting more on is very difficult as well. But if you think about it, things like Azuki and other PFPs who are now getting into gaming, I mean, they were basically, they raised and they created this very strong narrative off of, transmedia IP. So I wouldn't discount it. I would say, definitely bake it in. But in terms of execution, of course, be reasonable according to what your budget is.
All right, Lems, tagging you in, then going to Fitch.
Yeah, like I pretty much agree with what Ed Chang had said. I would say like the caveat is what stage are people at and how much money have they raised? Like that's going to be a factor here. If you're a brand new studio, like it's a nice pitch to say that you're going to build this transmedia IP, but do you have the funding to be able to actually do that in the end? It's nice to have that long-term vision and think about where you would like to go, but it's a drain on resources and it's scope creep when you actually are a startup and you're trying to build a game and you have all these other peripheral things to work on. So really, like you need to focus on what you're doing. If you've already raised a bunch of money, like you're launching your game and you have funding and resources to be able to look at these other things, then it feels like a more viable option. It also depends on the scope of what you're doing. Like, I see Fitch has his hand up, and like shout out to Parallel, and I know Shrapnel have done something similar with their comics to help build out their world to go, on top of their trailers, and that's people can get more involved with the world. But it's not a heavy resource drain of like, we're going to make a TV show or a movie or something like this, which is a lot bigger of a thing to bite off and have to tackle, as opposed to doing comics to build out your world and universe to go alongside your game.
Great stuff, Lems. Also, got to give a shout out AE in the comments. Had an absolute awesome meme about Vidar. See if you can find it. Fitch, tagging you in.
Yeah, I generally agree with Lem's take there. I mean, like the vast majority of teams don't want to do that. They want to focus on making a hero product that breaks through and then gets them the users and hopefully the revenue to then be able to go, raise an up round or whatever and continue to do that, right? I mean, I think like Parallel is in a unique position where we have, sort of found success doing this and thinking of ourselves as almost like a future studio, like not just necessarily a game studio. We're trying to explore, what the future of media and technology looks like. In addition to building a great game, and that game's player base is growing and it's only in beta and so on and so forth, right? But by and large, it is a big sort of like resource draw. And I would add not just a resource draw in terms of money, but I think Lems and others alluded to this, like internal focus. You have to be able to assemble a team of brilliant people in their disciplines and give them the focus to work on these things. So from very early on in parallel, we had a 3D and AR team. We have a whole team, separate team for that, right? Part of what they're making is for parallel TCG. Part of what they're making is for other things, right? And we'll see some of those other things, as time goes on. But kind of doing it in a way that it's all like cohesive, right? So building a 3D asset library so that we have a 3D asset library. There's some upfront cost with that, but then it gives us the ability to show you what parallel would look like in AR and MR. It gives us the ability to show you what it would look like in an FPS. It gives us the ability to take those, characters and put them in Colony, right? And build out that experience when we see AI becoming a valid component of what the future of gaming will look like. So, it does give you a lot of potential, but there's a manner in which you need to sort of like build out the team, build out the technology that gives you the sort of like interoperable potential to move between these different types of media and realities, and also like do it in a way that's always supporting the bottom line, right? At the end of the day, as Lems correctly pointed out, Shrapnel ourselves have comics. The comics sell for dollars, right? Like they're not, something that's a money sink. It's not money is being lit on fire when we make comics. It's not like we're driving for comics to be like our main revenue. We're absolutely not. But they are a product. And so, have you built sort of like a core brand that demonstrates, efficacy in looking at the future and efficacy in turning those things into products, both in the current present and like potential future?
I was hoping you would jump in on that, Fitch, because I couldn't agree more. And I think that you guys are the perfect example of somebody that's doing a lot of transmedia stuff, but doing it really, really well. Shrapnel obviously falls into this category. I have parallel comics on my desk right now, which I got at GDC. And then I also have Shrapnel comics on my other desk, which they sent to me whenever we first signed our deal. So really, really awesome to see you guys building a quality version of these things. I think so often people try to do transmedia and it's just an idea forever. But for you guys to actually make tangible physical things that people can put their hands on so early in the process is really, really exciting. Dub from Shrapnel, I'm tagging you in.
Yeah, super agree with everything Fitch says, and it's really wild seeing that because I came from a company that previously had people in the same office. Each one guy was working on bikes, one guy was working on snowboards, one guy working on freaking croquet, but all doing the same thing and driving towards the same mission and all that kind of stuff. But and just on a personal note, because I'm such a fan of Parallel, obviously a mega fan of Shrapnel because I work here as well. But and I have all the comics, but I literally haven't read them. And and it's because of this combination of I don't want to ruin the comic for the future as a collector, and I'd rather read things digitally. So like a thing that I've been pushing for is to make sure our community has like an easier way to digest this transmedia and stuff like that. I think that's a big opportunity for everyone in Web3 right now is to tell the stories that we're creating better. Like I'm super frustrated all the time. We leave in STX and everyone's playing as a Niki, but no one really knows what that means in our game, in our story, and all that kind of stuff. And it's caused us to take a look at how we can present that to people and explain the lore better and make it just more accessible for everyone and digestible.
Yeah, just really quick on Dub's point. That's like we've learned that lesson, and I've said for a while now I didn't think that we were kind of distributing the comics in a way that was correct, like because they were high value like NFT collectibles effectively, and that's great, but you're not really distributing the narrative as much as you could there. So we're exploring for like future comic issuances, and that's part of the reason why the next comic hasn't come out despite it being ready, is like how we can like split the model into two basically, and like if you want to collect, make it even better to collect, and if you just want to read it, give you like a very, very easy way to read it, and distribute that at scale, but still also have like a Web3 component to it as well. And, so it's, very much like you want to have these things be complementary. I think like selling digital collectibles is great, but also, they are pieces of media that should make people, deeper entrenched into your ecosystem. And so you want to expand that, right? And you're not going to do that through selling, higher dollar value collectibles only.
Absolutely awesome stuff from two of my favorite projects. Really appreciate you guys going into detail on that. We're also adding Jesus Martinez and Maria from Fableborn to the panel. Appreciate you guys jumping up. A little bit chaotic today as a bunch of people are traveling for NFT NYC, but appreciate you guys stepping in whenever we need you. And behold, the behemoth, the bastion, the bedrock, Avalanche. This colossus of the crypto climate stands unshaken as it slices through icy skepticism like a scorching sword, cutting a crystal clear path through the blizzard of bewilderment. Avalanche is not just a platform, it's a pathfinder, a pioneer, a prodigy, and it's the official blockchain of gamified. But amplify your applause and acclaim for the electrifying game sponsor as well. We got Shrapnel, the paramount, the pinnacle, the prime official game of gamified. Shrapnel's not merely a game, it's a supernova, a spectacle, a cataclysm of creativity, a tidal wave of tactical triumphs, and it's where pixels and prowess fuse in a furnace of ferocity, forging a frontier of feverish fun. Dub, can we give out some extraction packs in the comments for the love of God? Help the people get into the Nest STX.
Hell yeah, Sam, let's freaking drop it, bro. I was looking for something to do this evening.
Love you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, give to the people that are dropping comments, man. Appreciate you. And how can we forget Stardust, the official infrastructure of gamified? Feast your eyes and their wallets as a service tooling, a magical mechanism making metaverse management a breeze. This invisible ingenious innovation offers a white label wonder, weaving Web2 simplicity with the wizardry of Web3, and they're supporting over 150 chains at your command. Stardust stands as the supreme steward of your in-game gold and guardian of your gamers' games. And if you're worried about the wily ways of the web, Stardust safeguards the sanctity of your player's stash, shouldering the logistics and the liability. You gotta love it. Fact or fiction, we're jumping in. You can't dethrone a genre-defining title. This is one I really wanted Paul Bettner for, but maybe you guys will have to carry the load instead. Mario Kart has sold 60 million copies in their recent iteration. I think it's number 9 on Switch. What are the chances that somebody like Oh Baby Cart can do even 10% of that? So 6 million copies. Can Alluvium dethrone TFT? Can Shrapnel dethrone Escape from Tarkov? Can Parallel dethrone Hearthstone? Fact or fiction? You can't. Fitch, I'm tagging you in first.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a unique position in a genre that's like experiencing a lot of disruption, in and of itself, right? Like, I think that success looks different in different situations. You have like, if you're Shrapnel, do you need to defeat, so on and so forth, Call of Duty to be successful? No, not at all, right? And in that type of a genre where it's extremely competitive and laden with like very celebrated titles, I don't know if it's realistic, but I think that they have a quality product that people love and they've built a community around it, and they're going to have a ton of players. And so I think like, the success by measure of comparison is in and of itself, not necessarily relevant for, I would say, like most gaming verticals, right? Success is probably different measures for a lot of these titles. In our case, I think it's fiction, because I think like we could legitimately challenge a Hearthstone or something like that, because the industry itself has sort of underserved the needs of its constituents, right? Like if you play TCGs, you know that people are sort of broadly frustrated with. I mean, I think like let's be realistic. Magic is the actual top dog, right? If you consider the physical players too, that I don't think can be necessarily beaten, right? Like that, it's outrageous how many players they still have. But again, if you have people who are frustrated with the current suite of offerings, and you provide something that's meaningfully different, Hearthstone being a purely digital game, hey, you can own your cards, transact them freely. You can earn tokens. You can do all these different things, and you have a new type of IP or universe. Then yeah, you can knock on those doors. But I don't know that in our case, or in really like any Web3 games case, it's necessarily like the measuring stick. We have new ways to monetize users here. We have new ways to engage users here in different aspects of our IP. If we have, a certain number of monthly actives or whatever it is, we're already winning. And so, I would just caution people to feel, and especially in the case of like a Shrapnel, to feel like they need to beat, Call of Duty to be successful. That's absolutely not the case, right? I would say they're already well on their path to success, and I think that Web3 games need to really just find their special number of what they need to get to and make that your North Star, not being bigger than whatever the incumbent is.
Yeah, some great points again out of Fitch. I got to give a shout out. ICO Beast in the comments says, this is the hottest take of all time, but Oh Baby Kart is more fun for me than the recent Mario Kart iterations. He's saying it's already better, and Lems is hitting the 100 emoji. Holy moly. But before we go to Lems, we're going to Jesus Martinez, tagging you in. Jesus is dead to me. We're going to Lems.
All right, all right. I have had that hot take before that I think Oh Baby Kart is better than Mario Kart, but let's put that aside. I think you hit the nail on the head, Sam. Even on the intro, you said if Oh Baby Kart does 10% of what Mario Kart does, like that's still a raging success, and it ties into what Fitch was saying just there. Like 6 million players, like that would be still pretty huge. The thing is, it also seems impossible until it happens, and I think someone dethroning a genre-defining title is going to be a monumental task. I think when you look across all these different genres, someone's going to do it eventually, but that's not necessarily the measure of success. The measure of success means if the game is profitable, they got a lot of players, and they're successful doing that, then it can be a raging success. Just like, we don't need to, like, Shrapnel doesn't need to compete with Call of Duty. I'm just like kind of reiterating what Fitch had said here already. But I do think there is room for some of these games are kind of outdated. Like, I'm going to use Mario Kart because I love Oh Baby Kart. Mario Kart hasn't changed a lot over the last 20 years. We played at GDC and it felt bad for me. Like, I love Mario Kart. I probably have 1,000+ hours in it. But since playing Oh Baby Kart so much, it felt sluggish and weird to me when I played Mario Kart at GDC. And Slayer and I were laughing because it was like, why are we playing this game when both of us just wanted to play Oh Baby Kart? So I think there is room for some of them to lose their title and their crown, but it is still a monumental task to dethrone the behemoth.
Wow, sluggish. That's insane to hear. All right, Jerry, tagging you in.
Yeah, I didn't think that I was going to be the contrarian here, but it's mostly fact, right? There was a really, really interesting report that came out from Newzoo, like just yesterday, right? 80% of all playtime in 2023 went to 66 titles, right? 60% of that was spent in games that are 6 years or older. So only 8% of video game playtime of all of 2023 was spent on net new titles. So with that, I think that means people really fucking love a few games, right? Minecraft, League, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. So I think to looking at the example that was given of OBK and Mario Kart, it's just not going to happen, right? People resonate with the IP that's in Mario Kart way too much, and being something that's going to supplant or like overtake that is the most monumental task, right? That's like climbing Mount Everest blindfolded and doing it backwards the whole time, and you have no Sherpa with you. So can it happen? Can somebody do it? It maybe. Is OBK the team that's going to do that? Sorry guys, I don't think so. With that though, and I'll throw this caveat out there. Before there was Fortnite, right? There was a game called H1Z1, which was fucking phenomenal, right? And that was like the leading battle royale. And that was like the most fun battle royale at the time. But then Fortnite came and ate its lunch, right? And now Fortnite is that game that will probably not be surpassed. So can it happen? Yes. Will it happen? I think Parallel is actually going to pass Hearthstone up, no problem. Like that's a sure bet for me. But that's such a niche, 1% of the 1% type case right there. And it took the perfect team and the perfect timing, and the other teams within that little niche or subgenre fucking things up over and over and over again for Parallel to be the team that takes over. So can it happen? Yes. Will it? Yes. Is it mostly a fact that the big dogs are going to stay the big dogs? Yes.
Hey, damn, great points. Appreciate you calling out the Newzoo report as well. Maria, sending it over to you.
I rug myself trying to look at the wording of fact or fiction because I forgot how to play this game. I'm here agreeing with Jerry, very surprisingly. I don't really like supermarket carts. I prefer the baskets. And fact, definitely fact. And I agree with what Fitch was saying that if you're trying to measure, can I build a successful studio? Completely agree. You do not have to dethrone the incumbents in order to succeed at. But especially being a startup in the space where you have investors and they're expecting multiples upon multiples of return on their investment, I personally think my mindset when I'm working on a game, working on a platform, my mindset is I want to take down the incumbents and is trying to find the strategies to position in the market to find the unfair advantage that's not the user acquisition or the brand war chest. And I think if you set out with that mindset of, oh, I just want 10% of the audience of this game, you just don't have that winning mentality to really push you through. It's so difficult to make a game, and it's so difficult to make a game that will create a whole new generation of players and be able to dethrone these incumbents. And so I think you have to start with a product strategy and the market strategy to try to overcome those hurdles, um, to try to succeed to that next level. So I think it's fact. People are creatures of habit, especially if we look at the conditions, the financial conditions, the instability of politics, of the war, the inflation. People retreat, they retract to what is known to them. You want a guaranteed return on your investment. And that's why people every year are buying FIFA, and now it's free to play. Every year you're going to play Call of Duty. You just know you have an assured, first, an audience of friends who plays it, and second, an assured fun that has been proven, and you're going to spend your precious time and money in it. And so that's really what you're competing against, is the certainty and also the nostalgia. And this is why I go back to Oh Baby Cart. um I think I think if they reach 10%, that's amazing. And I personally believe that's a lofty goal, because if you look at the Mario Kart game, it's on Switch, it's Nintendo, it has Mario, it's parents playing with kids, it's a party game. You have 4 controllers and everyone's playing together. And then you look at the distribution of a baby cart, it's quite overwhelming to understand all of the very deep mechanics. It's quite hardcore when it comes to a cart game. And so onboarding, installing on PC, you have to have a good PC in order to play it. It's not really a game that I see you being able to play with parents and kids right now. So there's all of these different conditions about distribution, the market perspective, and it's not just the game. You're not just competing game to game, you're competing with the whole past and the memories that people have in their decision making.
Really great stuff. I appreciate those points, Maria. I think Coop read the exact same report as Jerry because he actually just tweeted about it, and I pinned it up if anybody wants to see some of the statistics. The thing that sticks out to me that's really interesting is the games that are 3 to 5 years old are what got cannibalized. So between 2021 and 2023, like 20% of the 3 to 5 year old games went to the 6+ year old games being the ones that are mostly played. It went from 45% of people's time being spent on 6 year or older games to 61% being spent over that time span. Really interesting stuff. I'm going to go to Dub, and then Jonah is also joining us from the audience. Shout out to Jonah. Thanks for coming up, man. Dub, your thoughts? Fact or fiction, you can't dethrone a genre-defining title like Mario Kart.
I think there's a little bit of fact in there. I mean, you wouldn't be tweeting every day that Web3 gaming is inevitable, and I wouldn't be wearing this hat if there wasn't a little bit of fact into that. But I really like Tony's positioning and the way he explains our North Star, and how actually we, for Shrapnel, the game, we hope to see it take a very similar path that PUBG took in defining this battle royale mode and finding its core. And even though it was never a key leader in the space, they had a life, and they had a great ride, and led to a lot of innovation in the space. And for us to try to say that we're going after Call of Duty or something like that is a little bit too ambitious at the moment. If that thing happens and naturally, that's great. And if anything, we'll dethrone Fortnite if we're going to dethrone anything with all of our creator tooling and planning around that.
Interesting stuff. All right, Jonah, your thoughts. Can you dethrone genre defining titles?
Everyone's always replaceable all the time. People, games, technology, everything's always replaceable. People are a commodity. So are games. So, but that, I mean, it's very hard, but I mean, everyone thought you could never dethrone Pokemon for 20 years, and then, what was it? Power World came out and just clobbered them so badly that they had to get their legal team to double check that they couldn't acquire them or something. So, uh, everything's impossible until one day it isn't. I agree with the whole like retention of the top games. So you're seeing two things happen. AAA is dying because of that, because nobody wants more AAA games because most of them are kind of dog shit. The other thing is that indies are they don't you don't need to play them for a longer period of time if you don't want to. I think you're gonna see these UGC studios explode in value. I mean, that's what I'm focused on because you have this idea of like once you build a AAA game, like you really want to spend $500 million for a game that's popular for maybe a year tops if you're lucky, and then you can never use like it again, and you have to go spend another $500 million to make another AAA game. Like fuck that. I'll spend 750 million on one game, and then we're gonna make this game last for 5 years or 6 years, and I'm gonna hire every UGC studio to build things on it, so that way it's just a platform rather than a game. It makes a lot of sense. So that's why AAA is dying. And quite frankly, there is no such thing as AAA anymore. There's either the super game or the indie game, and anything in between, you're just a UGC studio.
Damn, really interesting stuff. Vidar, tagging you in.
All right. Well, I bought Jonah's key, and it still hasn't turned into a waifu yet. So I'm gonna have to disagree with him on at least half of the stuff that he said. It's only fair. So, so here's the thing. No, you can't. You cannot defeat a genre-defining title. Genre-defining titles defeat themselves. Things like World of Warcraft, Age of Empires, Command and Conquer, right? The original Call of Duty. Those things, they faded away. Some of them got revived later by other things, but they faded. It's because those studios that made them didn't continue to make genre-defining titles. They made a genre-defining title, and then they kept trying to milk the fucking cow by making sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel. And now we're stuck in this situation where, this is the part where I'm going to agree with you, Jonah, AAA studios are fucking dead. Because they're not AAA, they're just making more sequels of shit back in their glory days. So the way you beat a genre-defining title is not by flipping it. You can't directly attack it and do what it does better. How many studios tried to beat World of Warcraft? You can't do that. You mutate it. You take what they're doing and you change it. League of Legends and Dota came out of a completely different genre-defining title. Warcraft 3, which had nothing to do really with what they were doing. You take what one game is doing, you find something interesting in that, and you mutate it to come out with something novel, something innovative, something interesting that's truly your own. That's how you defeat a genre-defining title, by making one of your own. Don't attack what they're doing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We actually have a topic, we'll see if we have time for it today, about genre blending and how you can mutate things into multiple things. Power World being a great example of that. I'm not sure if we'll get to it today. Maria, I'm tagging you in.
Sorry, I just want to call bullshit of saying that AAA is dead. Like, do you think it's dead when it's making $310 million a year? I mean, if I was dead and I was making $300 million a year, I'd still be very, very happy.
Yeah,
Call
kill
of
me now.
Duty, Call of Duty Warzone Mobile released, and it did $1 million of revenue in 4 days. I mean, if that's being dead, I'm pretty happy as well, being dead in that case. And so I think it's very I think there's like a point that we're not actually discussing here, which is we're talking about Web3 games competing with Web2 incumbent genres, but there's still a really big question in our industry. Do we actually need to make live long-term games? Because the games that we've mentioned are building for the long term, but from every, like, if I'm looking at the market, the crypto audience today, I'm not thinking about theses and hypotheses to go to the mass market, create new design space, explore new reward mechanisms and relationships with player. Like, put all of that aside and just look at the crypto audience today. The smart move, and Gangster Arena is really impressive what Derek is leading. The smart move right now isn't to make live games, not to make a design with the depth that you'll need to add content and live ops for over 5 years. It's very difficult to make a game like that. You can just make a very quick game that will have a lifespan of weeks, of half a year at most. And you're really going to be targeting the current audience. And so I think we need to talk about just in general what success means as a Web3 genre, because maybe the Web2 model isn't the perfect fit for the current market.
All right, interesting stuff. Vidar, I'll go back to you and then over to Jonah.
What's the name of this show? Is it gamified or is it shareified? Are we shareholders? If we want to talk about revenue, are we gamers or are we shareholders? Because if we want to talk about revenue and pure profit, let me ask everyone a direct question. You can give me a thumbs down or a thumbs up with your emojis. Is Diablo Immortal a good game? Yes or no? Did it make a shit ton of money? Yeah. It made everyone, all those shareholders, a shitload of money, right? Yeah, fuck yeah. It's not a good game. That's why we're saying AAA is dead, because it has no soul. Not that they're not providing their shareholders profit. They are. Okay, Bobby Kotick is there. Again, I'm not going to say it again, Sam. You know what I'm going to say, what he's doing with the Benjamins, okay? Bobby Kotick, he's gone now, but they just suck the soul out of the gaming, okay? It's gone. When you pump out Call of Duty 1 through 24, it's over. It doesn't mean they're not making money. We're saying it's dead because there's indie studios coming out with better games, objectively better. Are they making more money? No. But they are better games and they're more interesting and more engaging, and the community loves them. That's why it's dead. Not the money aspect. I can make a shit game, mobile game that's going to pump out tons, hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? It has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's the soul.
Yeah, really fair point there, Vidar. Jonah, your thoughts?
Everyone likes to say how much a game is making, but if you really look into the financials, they're not actually making that much money. Like, most game developers like to unionize in America now. So whether you believe in unions or not, I'm not here to discuss that. But the reality is that every year the margins for making a AAA game get thinner and thinner. And while the number sounds great, like making 400 million, if it costs you 300 million to make, and then you have the unions and you have a bunch of other tax related issues in the US, you have developer issues, you have insurance, you have all these different things that come with running a company and not just like making the game. Then you need to hire a live service team to manage it. So now you've got, a staff that you're paying occasionally. Most game developers rotate out of a game once it's finished its like lead cycle because they all anticipate this idea that they're going to get laid off anyway. So every single time a AAA game goes to market now, because of the way that works, which again, not the developer's fault, they usually have another job lined up before they even finish the live ops work. So there's just so many factors that the reality is like, yes, there are games that you're right, 100% are cooking and making bajillions of dollars. But if your sample example is Call of Duty, I mean, we've had that IP since 2000 or 2001. How many new shooters are at Call of Duty level? They're just not. It doesn't even exist anymore.
Going to go to a couple of comments. Shula says 100% agree with Maria. AAA is not dead, just the studios that are creating them are shit. Benny Blue Eyes says today's my 45th birthday and I'm here with y'all cooking a ribeye and snow crab. It's almost perfect. I'm just missing Dub waving a palm frond while telling me how good I am at shrapnel. Love you, man. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate that. Jerry, I'm tagging you in.
Yeah, hey Dub, do your job, dude. Happy birthday, Benny. I would want to also push back on the AAA is dead. I think we look at things like Call of Duty or FIFA or Madden or whatever, and those are like the most uninspiring things. I don't remember last time I touched like one of those. But like, let's not forget the banner year that AAA had last year with like Diablo, Baldur's Gate, Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Diablo's ass, but go on.
Did it do well? Are people still playing
It
it?
did
Right.
well. I'm just saying the game sucked ass, and I bought the
Mhm.
$100 version.
Yeah,
Sorry, go on.
Baldur's Gate 3 was fantastic. Tears of the Kingdom's
Yeah, that's
fantastic.
different. Yeah, yeah.
Hogwarts, fantastic. They laid off the whole studio that built that, but I would say that it's recency bias here, right? In that AAA had a phenomenal year last year, the best game ever for gaming last year, and right at the tail end in the last couple months, there's been some AA hits that have knocked it out of the park. I think that's recency bias. I don't really know which dog I take in the fight here in the AAA versus indie game battle. But let's not forget that last year was a historic year for gaming, and there was 8 games that could have won Game of the Year.
Fair play. Appreciate the perspectives all around. Helljar says Vidar speaking the cold hard truth, and then Phil chimes in with, "This is why I love the show so damn much. The different perspectives and the points that come out of a single conversation like this are so cool, and I always get to look at things differently. I can't agree more, Mr. Phil. This is exactly why I love to host and bring these smart people on to show me a thing or two." We're moving on topics though. Appreciate that fantastic conversation. Arbitrum and Azuki collaborate to launch AnimeChain. This news is about a week old, but I want to give people a little bit of a chance to sit on it, digest it, and then answer what's the word for AnimeChain. I'm super curious in particular. To me, this feels like something that is overly specific and also overly broad at the exact same time. Like, does anime in particular need to be on chain? What aspects of it need to be on chain to make it good? Or is this just Azuki finding another way to potentially take their brand and make it something that could be worth $1 billion instead of whatever their current market cap is? Because chains now, you can do so much stuff and you can partner with more people. Is this legitimate? What's the word for AnimeChain? I'm tagging in Mr. Lems first.
I'm gonna say confused. It kind of feels like everyone's doing a layer 3 now or a layer 2 or hey, we're doing a chain. It's like the hot thing to do, and they're like, hey, we're gonna launch an anime token, so let's just launch a chain to go with it. I've heard from a few people that they only have a small few people working on a game because I saw people speculate that, oh, the chain is coming, so now that means there's a game coming from Azuki, but there's only apparently a few people working on something like that. So I'm just kind of confused as to what the point of it is. Like you said as well, Sam, is this kind of too niche? Kind of just feels like jumping on the L3 bandwagon, but I'd love to be corrected and have someone inform me otherwise.
Thanks, Flames. Jonah, what's the word for AnimeChain?
Yeah, I have two different views. I'll give my bullish and my bearish because I have enough knowledge on it. So in their mind, they're solving a problem where uh, anime artists are not getting paid a fair wage, which is absolutely true. Like the ones in Japan are overworked, they're exhausted. You know, I mean, look at Jujutsu Kaisen. We can't even get a season on time because they're having so many problems internally that half the studio walked out, and there's just a lot of problems in the anime industry. And they believe that somehow an anime chain is going to solve that. Am I convinced by that? No, but I also don't care. Um, because building your own chain is now table stakes. Like it's just expected. It's not even a feature anymore. Like Ronan announced today that they're basically doing what Polygon's doing. Polygon, is letting people make chains. Every single game that has any remote success is going to have its own chain. Avalanche has an awesome chain system. Is at this point, it's not even news to me anymore. It doesn't even. I don't even think about it because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters for a chain to exist is volume, both from the DeFi and the GameFi side. And building a chain is not what lures people into that. It used to be, but now it's all about distribution, quality content, network, and these are things that a chain can't solve for. So, yeah, I couldn't care less about another chain. There's 1,000 of them, and it's like announcing that you're using AWS or if you're using, a Microsoft server. Who cares? Like I couldn't care at all.
Fair play. Vidar, your thoughts? What's the word for AnimeChain?
Jonah kind of just stole the words out of my mouth. I couldn't care less. I mean, and I'm the biggest waifu maxi in the room. It's whatever, right? You're building a chain. Everyone's building a chain. The use case is kind of superfluous, like he said. Yes, there's an issue with anime artists. I mean, right now you can go on skeb.jp and you can hire an actual artist that works on real projects in Japan, pay them like pennies to make you some commission, right? So these people really don't make enough money. They have to do other jobs to get in this stuff. But is the chain going to solve the problem for them? No, probably not. They're just. I think it's what you said, Sam. I think it's just another way for Azuki to monetize something, so they can get more money out of their community. That's what I think.
I'm inclined to agree with you there. Maria, what's the word?
Waifus, because Web3 is obsessed with waifus. I think waifus move markets in crypto.
Bullish.
Yeah, where there's waifus, there's bullish sentiment.
Big true.
Actually, it's my bedtime, Sam, so I need to get to sleep. And
All right.
Thanks for letting us know, Maria.
yeah, no worries, no worries. You know, just starting my AI waifu chatbot right here.
All right, yeah, it sounds like you need some sleep, Maria. I appreciate you jumping up to the panel, though, and taking a couple of the chin. You were fantastic. We're going to chime in with the last topic of the day. Never have I ever, a little bit of lighthearted fun for us. Never have I ever bought a game that I never proceeded to play. Any true gamer has probably been the victim of a summer Steam sale or a humble bundle that sounded like a great idea at the time. Probably whenever like Maria's going to bed, she's like, "Man, this humble bundle. Oh, I'm gonna play all these games." I think personally, I've owned at least 100 games that I've never played. I bought 30 of them in one day, and I think played like two of them in my teenage years. Whenever I was just didn't understand the value of money at all. So raise your hand if you've bought a game that you've never played. I see Dub first.
Bro, there's this game that Wolfstyle wanted me to play called Valheim that I mean, I don't think you can count it as playing if I literally just logged on, walked around, and then logged off. So thanks, Wolfstyle, for making me vulnerable to the never have I ever, because it literally never happened until then.
Damn, that's impressive. I guess you do pretty much play everything. Fadar, over to you.
Oh man, my Steam library is littered with the corpses of games I downloaded with the intention to play and then opened the launcher and then never played because my computer reset and had a Microsoft update and I completely forgot about it because I had a business meeting and then I never looked at the game ever again. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned Valheim because that's one of the ones I also have and didn't touch. That V Rising is another one. I think like 2 Total War games I downloaded, didn't play. War Tales. Oh, if anyone played Warhammer Vermintide, I downloaded that and didn't play that. Wasteland 3. So XCOM 2, didn't play that one. Yeah, I have a ton of games on here. There must be hundreds of games that I well, like, oh, you know what? I'm going to come back and play this game at some point. And I think the newest one that's going to become the victim is Dragon's Dogma 2. I have the launcher open now, and I installed it like 6 days ago. That's a bad sign.
I got to agree with you on Vermintide. That was definitely one that was in like every Steam sale for 4 consecutive years, and eventually they just suckered me into it. I also had this amazing idea at the time whenever I was like 18 years old. I was like, oh, I love video games so much. I'm gonna play all the classic games. I'm gonna buy Half-Life and Shadow of the Colossus and all the Zeldas I haven't played and stuff. I just bought all of them with like my paycheck working in a restaurant and proceeded to like boot up 2 of them, be like, fuck, I don't know, I'm not into it, and then never play any of them ever again. One of my great guilt trips that I give to myself late at night, right whenever I'm falling asleep. Lems, over to you.
I'm subject to having bought several humble bundles because I think because they're cheap, you tell yourself, hey, they're cheap and it's like this charity thing. I'm going to get all these games and then proceed to never play them. I'm actually shocked that Valheim was the only game that you have had that experience with, and I kind of call bullshit on like whoever doesn't have their hand up. So like Fitch, Jonah, Andy, like I feel like everyone has to have bought something that they haven't played at some point. Like for me, the worst one is God of War because I actually really am interested in the series and I bought the whole collection and then proceeded to never play any of them. And I'm still interested in them, but it's just one of those ones that's on the backlog that I know I should play, but then have not played. But yeah, it also sounds like we need to get a Valheim game night going in Wolves because, that's fun. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, we did have a couple of good game sessions before they I don't know, fell by the wayside. I think Pal World came out and shook us up. Jerry.
Yeah, dude. I mean, this happens to me every year. Like every Steam summer sale, the same thing. The whole To the Moon franchise I just bought. Um, dude, I mean, my Steam library is just a bunch of games where, like, they probably were big for a moment. You know, Final Fantasy VI, The Forest, Forza. Dude, I mean, there's hundreds that I haven't even touched. It's kind of shocking and really depressing that you guys are making me find this out about myself in front of 100 plus people.
My apologies. It's better though if you can be judged immediately for it, and then maybe you'll finally change your ways. Jonah, is it true that have you never done this?
I have, but if I tell you the game, I'm gonna be embarrassed.
Do it, Jonah.
Yeah,
That's
I
never
mean,
stopped you before.
So I just got busy. I know the game's amazing. Like I know it's amazing. There's no contest. I played like the first three bosses, but I got busy with work, and then everything. It just felt so daunting because there's so much there. Anyway, it was Elden Ring.
Dude,
Oh,
same. I'm not even joking. I literally didn't. I got to Margit and I was like, "Fuck this shit. I'm out, dude."
That's literally where. That's literally where I got
I
left.
and
I
then
did. Yeah, that
I
was it.
watched all the lore videos and caught the whole story and never played again. I was like, maybe I will, but let's be
dude.
All
realistic.
right,
I'm not.
here's my hot take. I enjoy watching Elden Ring way more than I enjoy playing it, and I
Literally
will
same.
watch it on stream all day. But then I think about playing it. I'm like, ah, that's a lot of work. That's literally how I think. Ah, that's
That
a lot of work.
same, dude. Same. It's like we get done with the day. It's like I'm tired, bro. I want to click some buttons. I'm not trying to like mentally. I'm not trying to get my shit beat by
That's the thing.
monsters
That's the
in
thing.
Elden
Like,
Ring.
dude, I get my ass beat all day by people on Twitter calling me fucking names, and now I'm gonna have a fucking video game tell me I'm a piece of shit too. Like, nah, I'm going to fucking Fortnite.
This is why I've uninstalled like 70% of the games that I used to play all the time, is because I realized there was like a 50-50 chance whether I would close it out of rage or if I would close it and be like, oh man, I wish I could play more. And I was like, man, so much of my life, like most of the time in my work life, I actually don't rage. So that means I have a higher odds of just working and being satisfied than I do of playing games and being satisfied, which is a fucked up way to feel. Shrapnel's dub.
Yeah, dude, it actually made me realize a blast from my childhood. I actually like begged my mom to buy me Black and White at a Target one day, and then we took that home to go play it, and our PC was so booty that it couldn't even like run the install program for it. So I truly never got to play Black and White, and it deterred me from PC games like throughout all of high school, and not until like after college that I really got into it. And it's really interesting thinking about back on it, and it's almost like a thing to be aware of for our games, especially for Shrapnel. Like I'd be, it'd suck if someone like went and spent a ton of money to get involved and be a part of our ecosystem right now, and it's like, yeah, you got to have a 3080 or a 3060 to run this, and they were hoping to run it on like a mobile phone or something like this. So definitely it's a problem that's not going to go away.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. Graslow's joining us from the audience as well. Graslow, I know you have to have bought a game and never played it, man.
Oh, my Steam library is full of these collectibles that I call games. I buy everything on sale, and yeah, rarely play.
That's my boy. Down bad like the rest of us. Well, as we holster our heroics and break down the banner on this breathtaking battleground of Gamified, let's lend a roaring round of applause to the Titans and Trailblazers who have turned the tides forever in our favor. Shrapnel, the crown champion, an official game of Gamified. In the sprawling saga of FPS supremacy, Shrapnel emerges as the elite envoy, masterminding a maelstrom of might and munitions. Each strategic strike and calculated clash crafts a chronicle of chaos and courage. And of course, let's cast a spotlight on the Icy Innovator, the foundation of our fantastical foray into the fusion of finance and fun. Avalanche, the official blockchain of Gamified. Unleash a thunderous ovation for Avalanche, our Arctic architect, valiantly vaulting through the virtual vortex, etching pathways of pristine precision. And before we finish today's show, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Stardust, the official infrastructure of Gamified, one more time. This formidable force fields a fully managed user acquisition, DSP, and performance marketing marvel, meticulously molding the masses into consumers, monetizing in your metaverse. With Stardust, stellar strategies suffused with Web3 secrets, snare sublime players at scale, securing sky-high LTV users at a snip of the cost. Thank you to Stardust. And I also want to give away that merch mystery box I've been teasing out. I'm gonna give that to ICO Beast for chiming in at the comments. Dude is an absolute monster, always dropping gems. But don't worry, guys, if you haven't gotten one yet, I'm gonna have more tweets out there, and on all of my shows, I'm gonna be giving them away until I get rid of all this stuff in my house. For the love of God, my fiance is about to kill me with how many boxes are upstairs. So please take it away from me. And a huge shout out to the entire panel. Again, thank you guys also for retweeting the space, giving it some love. Unfortunately, the link got rugged yet again, which hurts the numbers a little bit, but appreciate everybody chiming in the comments, hanging with us, giving us retweets, all that great stuff. Twitter, for whatever reason, continues to just hate spaces so much and wants to kill it with fire. But we're going to keep on rolling until they take it away from us for good. Vidar, Jonah, Dub, Graslow, Andy from Stardust, Lems, Jerry, Fitch, and everybody else that joined us from time to time. We'll see you back here, same place, same time next week. Love you guys. Thank you so much.